Welcome and hello. This is a support video in HEC HMS, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the pdata file for paired data sets. This is important because the paired data set connects the HMS application to its different references for paired data via DSS files, and it's important because if you have hundreds or even thousands of paired data sets that take forever to actually add to the GUI, you can automate populating the .pdata file to automate the creation of those paired data sets. So we're going to go ahead and just talk about the .pdata file in general, and then I'm going to show you how it relates to the paired data sets. Okay, so I have HMS 4.12 open right here, and I'm going to go File, New. I'm going to call this project Support 10, and then for the location, click Select, and I'm ready to create. Inside that project directory, here is what I'm seeing. Here's Support 10. And then now I've got my typical batch of folders and files that are going to show up when I create my project. So the files themselves are the .access, .dss, .gauge, .log, .out, and .pdata. This is the star of the show here, support 10.pdata. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're working with here. This right here is the .pdata file. It's really nothing to it. It just says the name of the project and the version. Okay, so I'm going to move that off to the side. Now, this is fun. I'm going to go ahead and just go File and Save my project. But before I do that, I'm actually going to resize the window so you can actually see this for yourselves, because some of these files are going to be deleted. And then the .hms file, where's the .hms file? It's not even there, but it will be created. So I'll go File and then Save. Okay, so over here, now I have a .access, .dss, .log, .out, .hms. Where did the pdata file go? In fact, so we're missing the .pdata file and the .gauge file, but we gained the .hms file, so that's good. Now, HMS version 4.13 does the same thing, except there's also a .grid file that disappears. But anyway, we're talking about the .pdata file, so let's focus on that. In the project directory, we have this support.dss file created by default. I'm also going to add a separate .dss file right here, just data.dss. And then if I open up those DSS files, here's my project directory, support 10. Here's support.10.dss. Okay, there's no paths. That's understandable. And then Control O to open. And then here is the data.dss. This is where I have a bunch of paired data sets, specifically cross-section data. Okay, so we're going to come back to that a little bit later. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just sketch out a very simple basin here. So first things first, let's get the 2D toolbar out of the way. Now let's go with Components, Basin Model, New, Add a Basin. Okay, that looks good. So let's get the basin up into the map display. Let's go ahead and just manually add a few elements here. Going with the subbasin here. Subbasin 1 looks good. Subbasin 2, let's go ahead and move those over. Here's the junction tool. I'll click that. Put a junction there, junction 1, put another junction there, junction 2. Okay. Lastly, here's the reach tool. So I'll click that. Single left click on the upstream node, which is a subbasin, and then single left click. I'm just going to call these reaches, actually, I'll name these 659 and then create. And then subbasin 2 to junction 1, that's another reach that'll be labeled 660, and then create. And then one final reach from junction 1 to junction 2. I'm going to name that 661 and create. All right. I just wanted to create a network with a few reaches. So I'll click the mouse pointer tool here. Let's go ahead and assign a specific routing method to these reaches that require the cross-section, the 8-point cross-section shape, or any shape, but we'll make it 8-point. So to do that, I'm going to select all of the reaches. That'd probably be easier to do over here in the Watershed Explorer, but you can hold down Control and do that in the map as well. And then click on Parameters, and then Routing. Here we go, Change Method. And then I'm going to select Muskingum Kung, and then Change. Now, if I want to actually select the shape, I think I have to do that one at a time. So I'll select the reach. And then over here in the Components Editor, Muskingum Kung is selected. That's good. Routing. And then for shape, I'm going to select 8-point. Okay. Now down here, the cross-section, this is where we're asked for paired data set, specifically a cross-section type paired data set, but it says none and it's grayed out because our project currently doesn't have any referenced. So I'm going to go ahead and set 8-point to be the shape for the other two reaches, and then we'll tackle this cross-section paired data set. So right here is reach 661. We'll make that 8 point. Oh, that was 660. Sorry, this is 661. It's labeled right there. This is going to have the shape of 8 point. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and file, save my project. Still no pdata file in my project directory yet. I've got that on my other monitor. Let's go ahead and create our first paired data set. I'm going to do that manually. So I'll go to Components and then Paired Data Manager. Now I'm going for the type, I'm going to select cross section, new, and then for the name, I'll just call this 659, which is the name of one of the reaches. So this will be the cross section for that reach. Click create, and then let's close that. I'm looking over at my project directory, no change yet, but I'm tempted to go file and then save and see what happens. Okay, it just popped up. Here is the support 10.pdata file. And here is what that looks like. Same thing as before, except we have this entry here for the paired data set. This looks to be all default data. So for instance, distance elevation is probably the type because I selected cross section. This is the date and time, at least it is in England, or the prime meridian, whatever it's called. And then the units are feet. That's probably because this is defaulted to English units. Use external DSS file. That's probably because I haven't done anything yet. And then the DSS file right here, if we are using it, is defaulted to that DSS file that was created at the same time as the project. And then a path name and then interpolation type. Okay. Let's go ahead and actually add some data and see what happens here. So open my Watershed Explorer. I'm going to expand the paired data and then cross sections and then select 659. And here is where I enter the data. Let's actually just use manual entry and see what happens. So I'm going to click on table and then I can type in or just paste in some numbers. So there is a typical 8-point cross section. And I'm going to go ahead and file, save. And then it looks like there's been no change to the .pdata file except for the date time updated. But what did change is if I go to the support10.dss and then go view and update catalog, boom, we have a new record. And then that should have the data I just pasted in. Yep, there it is. And then there is the plot of the cross section. So that's cool. All right, let's go ahead and change that paired data set to now reference the data.dss file. So I'm going to click on 659, and then instead of manual entry, I'll select data storage system. So here's the path, the file name, and the path. I think I have to make this wider to see the button. Yeah. So if I want to select a different .dss file, and I do, I'm going to click on this button here, navigate to my project, which is right here, and then data.dss, and select. Now for the path, I want to select 659. I'm going to just filter on part B, 659. There it is. And then click on set path name. So that is all set. I'm just going to go file and save. All right, here is the .pdata file. What we have now is a new last modified time. We are using a DSS path. References the correct .dss file and the correct path. I'm going to go back to HMS now and finally make that assignment. So I'm going to select on that reach 659. Click on routing, and then down here for cross section, select 659 and save. So that is how to assign a paired data set to a reach in HMS. Now let's go back to our cross section 659. I'm going to make a copy right here in the GUI with using mouse clicks. So I can just create a copy. This is a little bit faster than going up to the components menu. I'm going to type in 660 now and then copy, and then it disappeared on me. So that's annoying, but here's 660. Oh, it looks like I may have selected 656 last time. Hold on. Okay, so that's supposed to be 659. All right, and now for 660, let's go ahead and change that. I can go ahead and click on this and then actually search for 660, but I know that the path is just right here. Part B is 660. There we go. And then file and save. Let's take a look at that .pdata file and see what it looks like. Here it is. Yes, I'd like to reload. Okay. So this is 659. I forgot what it said earlier, but here is 660 just below it. The only thing that changed is, well, the name of the pair data set and the path. So you can see with so much repetition, if you have hundreds or thousands of paired data sets, you could write a script to automate populating this particular table, and it could save you a lot of time. Let's go ahead and just automate that process, but semi-manually by just changing this file directly. And you got to make sure that your HMS project and the application are closed, because first I'm going to do it here and it's going to fail because when I save HMS, it's going to not remember the changes that I'm about to make when I create 661. So I'm going to just highlight, Control D creates a copy in Notepad++, but you can also highlight Control C, Control D, and then 661 right here, and then 661 right here. So I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to come over to HMS, and if I go File, Save, and then I go back to my .pdata file, it's telling me, hey, there's been a change. Would you like to reload it? I'm going to say yes, and poof, 661 goes away. All right. So we want 61 there. We want all the hundreds of cross sections in our files to stay in the .pdata file and not get overwritten. So I'm going to go to HMS. I'm going to go File, Save, and then I'm going to close the application. All right, let's go ahead and, oops. Okay, so it just updated a last time modified or something like that. Let's go ahead and copy and create 661 now. There's 661. I'm going to save the .pdata file. Let's go ahead and open up HMS once again. I'm using 4.12, but this is probably the same thing with 4.13. File, open. Here's our project, support 10, and then here's the .hms file. Okay. Let's open up the basin map just so we have something to look at here. We have our three reaches, 659, 660, and 661. And then down here in the paired data folder, cross-section folder, bam, 661. So that is saved. It's ready for assignment. We can just click on our Reach 661 routing tab, and then down here for the cross-section, 661. I don't know if I assigned 660 or not. No, I didn't. Okay, and there's that. And file and save. All right, well, that's all I have prepared in this support video talking about the .pdata file. It's used to connect the HMS application to the paired datasets, specifically for paired datasets that are saved as DSS paths.